Yo, 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 good evening and welcome to our post-match review from last night's Berardi and Coke, the better post-match review. Thank you ever so much if you are joining us for the first time. Do smash a like and hit subscribe. Those of you that have come over from Joe's, welcome. And yeah, Gilly doesn't know ball. It's quite apparent Gilly doesn't know ball because we've got numerous bits of evidence to prove that, and we'll get into a little bit tonight when we're talking about last night's game. But before we do, we'll run a very short intro, and I'll introduce who's with me.
Hi, this is Don Matteo, and you are listening to the Ought to Know Better podcast. Let's do this.
Leeds are shit.
We're recording, you know.
Oh, shit.
We had a good start. I don't think we've got the personnel.
You can fucking laugh all you want, you absolute bellend.
I think about things. That's why you lot are idiots.
A melted version of a dick that's been shrink wrapped.
The absolute elite shithousery of this.
Good evening. Yeah, thanks ever so much. Big Lu is with us again. Lu, it's becoming quite a regular occurrence, this, isn't it?
Yeah, mate. I can't get enough of it. But you won't see me after a loss, just so you know.
Fair dues. Fair weather fan, so to speak.
Literally. And
everybody who knows has been calling you for you, Gilly. They've been calling for you. Thank you ever so much for joining me late on this Tuesday evening. Do you want to just say anything to the haters, one word, and then we'll just nip it in the bud?
No, I love it. It's ace. Keep it coming. It's fine.
So let's have a bit of a chat about last night. It was almost like a reincarnation of last week, wasn't it? You know, we were behind, and I mean, go for it, Lou. Tell me. I know you were pretty plastered, but just give me your recollection, the thoughts, the feelings, and how it made you feel.
Amazing, in a word. And to be honest with you, I felt like I turned over a new leaf just personally yesterday, because I felt even though when we went 1-0 down, I was just being, and it wasn't faux positivity either. It was genuine positivity. I just felt like if we got, and I tweeted it as well, just because I had the feeling, I said, if we get one, we'll go and win. That the momentum was building. I don't think we were that bad in the first half, and they put an awful lot into that in 20 minutes. You saw Solomon turning Harry Clark inside out, who went off injured. You could see a couple of their lads were blowing after the first 20, 25 minutes. And to be fair to them, they were really good in the first 20 minutes. And I guess you've got to be at home in a big game, and their tactic of putting Meslier under pressure worked after, about a million errors in the first 20 minutes or whatever it was. And we just got there in the end, and we just completely overpowered them, and it took the whole game, and it was incredible. And the away end looked insane. Again, like last week, all of the fallout from everything has been brilliant. The fan coming out and having a go at the coaches in the technical area, and the security guard having to come in. The lad in the away end on the scaffold giving it some to the home end. I just love it all, and it was such a brilliant night. And I was on a massive high, and I was out on the piss with one of my best pals on a Monday night, and it was both tragic and brilliant all rolled into one.
Yeah, I mean, can't really argue with that, mate. I know you had a fair few Jägermeisters as well to celebrate on a Monday evening, which is never good when you've got an alarm clock going off on early on a Tuesday. But Gilly, I mean, what did you feel similarly to Lou when we were 1-0 down, when Sheff Utd were bossing the game arguably for the first 20-25 minutes? They were putting the feet about, they were bullying us in midfield. I thought Tanaka and Grave were very, very poor for the first 20-25 minutes. And I felt certainly that it was going to be one of those nights where, we just weren't going to turn up. It was cold and people couldn't really be asked. A very much Leedsy type performance after, a bit of a hangover from coming from behind last week. Did you always share? Did you share that belief with Lou that there was always a goal or two, maybe even three left in it for us?
Well, given what we had done against Sunderland and Swansea earlier in the season and various others, we've always got something in us. I think in that first 20-25 minutes, you sat there thinking, fucking hell, we need to hold on. we can't afford to not be in the game. And I think it's the opposite of what we're normally used to doing, isn't it? Because normally we'll be sat there as Leeds fans going, we've got to score while we're on top. We've got to score. And we found ourselves on the other side of that. And I'm thinking we've got to keep this close, because you always know we're going to come into it at some point. You always know we're going to go into the game. And there's so much attacking potential in our side and so much on the bench at the moment, and so much capability from fullbacks and wingers, that there's always going to be something in the game for us. It just needed to not get away from us before we came into it. And I think that, Meslier did have some howlers early on. He did have a really tough time of it. To be fair to him, just before the goal went in, he made a really good save. He can count himself a bit unlucky. And the fact that Campbell missed an open goal and it were lucky enough to hit the post and then going off him, touch of luck for them about that. But once that's gone in, you're thinking, right, now they have scored when they're on top. We really need to get to grips with it. Sometimes it can go a couple of ways. And I did think this to myself last night. I thought, will they ease off a little bit now? Or will they do what we've been doing and not let up? And, I think they did let up somewhat. I don't think they ran out of steam in the first half, but in the second half, it was quite obvious that they couldn't keep up with us. And, when you put on somebody that was so unfit, when you look at him later on in the game, that clearly weren't ready to play against us, it showed that they'd just run out of steam.
Yeah, no, I think you're quite right. I think it was imperative that we went in at half time only one goal behind for me last night, and I sort of share mixed feelings with you both, because I was watching the game and I was like, this is fucking, we're never going getting back into this. They're absolutely played us off the park. They want it more. They were second to every ball, first to every ball, and it just felt to me like we were going to have to do something really, really different or change something dramatically. And I didn't mean necessarily substitutions. I almost meant playing style, formation, something really drastic to actually get one over on Wilder last night. And it was doing me. I did a bit. I was actually like, fuck me, this is shite. And, it felt like that before at 1-0 down, it felt very much like this was our opportunity. Last night, it was our opportunity to sort of start moving things forward and actually take the league by the grip of the throat. And I would have taken a draw last night. I would have taken a draw before kickoff. And I don't know if you predicted a draw.
Felt like that 1-1 for sure. Like that was, yeah. And but you knew once we got it, it wasn't going to be a draw. Once we got that goal, it was only going one way. Like, yeah, it was late again, but I knew we were going to get 3 or 4 chances. Like, there was only one team like in it. There was only one team going for it again. Like, I wouldn't say they parked the bus. They did try and play, I think, to be fair. But yeah, brilliant. Just carnage, really.
a man of very few words. I've never seen you this. Is this
a hungover, Lou? Is that what we're dealing with here?
I've been so slow today. Like people at work have even been like, "You're right. You're a bit quiet today. You're never like that." I was like, "Yeah. I'm fine. Bit foggy, but I'm fine." Oh, it's that cold going round.
So I did predict a draw, but I did you jumped on with us for a bit, didn't you, Luke? I did a preview with Jay. I predicted a draw last week and then had forgotten that I predicted a draw and was thinking I might have gone 2-1, but I think I've gone 3-1 and I'm quite confident with that. And then found out that I'd predicted a draw and were devastated before kickoff. However, when they went 1-0 up, I'm thinking, this might work out. It might be a draw. So we don't know. But during the game, certainly in the first half, it really didn't look or feel like it were going to be a 3-1 to us. But we'd left ourselves just enough time to be able to do it this time.
Yeah, and that they scored the second and third so quickly. There wasn't even time to be nervous about a potential second goal for Blunt. It was just bang bang, and it was Pirot's finish was just brilliant. Yeah, I can't decide what my favourite goal was, to be honest, because they were all so important. They're all sort of good finishes in their own way. But I mean, I don't know, the bullet header from Firpo is just it was great, wasn't it?
That's a centre forwards header, isn't it? That's a good centre forwards header or a centre back header from a corner or something. He's he's deceivingly good in the air, Firpo. And it's all about his leap. I think he's that athletic. He just gets so much height and he just times it so well. You know, I don't think we give him enough credit for his, not necessarily his, I don't want to label it as a defensive capability, but some of his attributes that actually, you know, things that you probably don't recognise Junior Firpo with. His heading and his jumping are certainly two of them. But that was my favourite goal. Other than obviously the best goal was probably Pirro's. But my favourite was definitely, no, in fact it wasn't. It was Tanaka's. It was Tanaka's. Because just the elation, you know what I mean? And I watch it on this worldwide radio thing that
heard about those, yeah.
And it's always like 40, 60 seconds behind. So I'm like this frantically refreshing either Twitter or SofaScore or whatever. And I said, I'd already seen it and I just started screaming. And then it went in and the kids, the kids just wanted to rehome me, I think. But did you see
this, by the way, that Bremner's Ghost has just said?
Yeah, that was class. There was a lady with an electric wheelchair next to you trying to get past him as well, but there was weren't enough power in the motor to run over the steward. So she was just like sort of just going backwards. But let's start with let's. I know we've had our views and thoughts, then overviews, but let's talk about the lineup. Was anybody surprised with it? Obviously, Ampadu not featuring was a bit of a shock, although it was reported early on in the day through various social media channels that he might be out for the rest of the season. Obviously, Farke's not elaborated much on it and just said we'll sort of look at it later on this week. So that was a shock, but we expected to see maybe Rodon start after the performance here? Certainly the difference he made against Sunderland the week before, or do you think he got it spot on? Sorry, Rodon did start. Yes, Rothwell. With the difference he made against Sunderland the week before, Lou?
Yeah, I think there was a case for that, but I think we're more likely to see that sort of start in a home game. I think Farke has shown in the last 2 or 3 away games he quite likes Gruev starting in the midfield, and he's been a bit off it if we're being fair. But I think he's very important now, and the rotation of Gruev and Rothwell is going to be important for the last 12 games now, with Ampadu probably most likely being out for the rest of the season. I mean, they've not really said how serious it is. We just know it's the other knee, don't we? And I'm sure they knew that before the game as well, but they waited till after to sort of say what it was properly, didn't they? Like,
he still ran down touchline to celebrate, though, didn't he?
Yeah, it wasn't
being
really
bothered.
Much limp either, really, was there? It was, but I guess some of that's adrenaline as well, perhaps. But
yeah.
But one of the things I would say about that was, I mean, I said it before last night on the pre-match that we did, the brief one with Jay and Gilly, that actually, if it was that serious, would they be letting him weight bear so much? And I know people are telling me it's a cartilage injury, it's different to a ligament injury and all this sort of stuff, but he's a finely tuned athlete and he's worth a lot of money, and every game he plays is worth so much money to Leeds because of his contract and whatever else. But why wasn't he on crutches? Why was he allowed to bear so much weight? If it was so serious, I would expect that it would be severely strapped, or he would be on crutches, or he probably wouldn't have even been there with the squad last night. Or do you know? That leads me to believe, or certainly gives me a little bit of optimism.
Yeah, well, they haven't said it's a season ender, but I guess, you know, we were sort of feared that before with his last injury. Same with Gruev. But you know, they have the best facilities, and sometimes these things come. Players seem to come back a lot quicker sometimes. So I don't know. Maybe they're just sort of being a bit coy about it, just in case he does end up coming back. But it's sad. But obviously, he's such a big leader and a big part of the team, and the captain and everything else. And he was still saying his piece out there, and you know, a full part of the match day squad. And I think, as the games get more and more important, if it, you know, perhaps gets tighter again, there are going to be times where they need Ampadu in and around the squad. So I think they're just sort of setting a precedent, really, with you know, keeping him around the squad, because the rest of the lads are used to having him around. So yeah, but providing he's obviously not laid up and rested or whatever, they're just perhaps just using him until he has his surgery.
Yeah, I mean, Herbert's here said, sorry, just really quickly, get a crutches make you compensate. Sometimes you have to exercise as well as rest an injury. It's fair enough. I mean, I've had my fair share in the operations to know that that's not necessarily the case with a knee injury, but because your body weight,
is that advice?
I mean, that's not hardly compensating, is it? Resting or exercising. But yeah, I mean, look, we could sit here and we're probably going to speculate because none of us know the extent of the injury, and we probably won't know until, I would say, probably the presser before the West Brom game Friday or Thursday. Would it be Thursday or Friday if we play Saturday? Thursday, won't it? Yeah, it depends, doesn't it? But anyway, go on. Sorry, Gilly. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously, we've had our fair share. You worse than me, but we've had our fair share of knee injuries over the years. I did my ACL and 2 meniscus, and had to have them fixed. And at the same time, one of the lads at work had a meniscus sorted, and that's the bit of cartilage, and it's kind of like a shock absorber. There's 4 in front and 4 behind your knee. And if it's just that, then, well, he had his on day surgery and he were a runner and he were out running less than a week later. So, all right, you have said, as you've said, he's a finely tuned athlete. We don't expect him to be playing football a week later. But if it's that, it's not that serious. It's not like doing a medial or cruciate or whatever else. So, fingers crossed it's that. And as has been said, we're hoping to have him back after international break. That might be why you'd get a quick turnaround and why you wouldn't be quite so coy about him walking around and whatever else.
I also probably think it depends on how we're playing, how quickly he comes back, and how quickly he's maybe needed to come back into the team, because we started last night like we didn't have a captain in the side, and Pascal Struijk was, Pascal Struijk is less vocal than Ampadu naturally, but he was the captain. But we certainly missed Ampadu for that first 20 minutes just to dictate and control and control the tempo. It just felt like a team that hadn't played together for the first 20-25 minutes. And credit to Sheff United, they were spoiling us. They were up, they were pressing us. They were they had that, like you say, Lou, they had the tactic to put Meslier under a lot of pressure, which paid off. Let's start on Meslier. Some comeback. I mean, to go from playing like he did in that first 20 minutes or so to playing like he did for the rest of the game. I mean, you've got to give credit where it's due. He kept us in that game a couple of times last night.
Yeah, he was brilliant to bounce back after that, and he was visibly rattled, and it did dig up all of those feelings we've had many a time when it comes to Meslier. And I mentioned it, I think, on Berardi and Coke last week when we said about the work he's probably had to put in behind the scenes, his mental strength anyway to overcome all the mistakes he's already made this season. And thankfully, the team were good enough to get 3 points last night, because with 12 games to go, you don't want your number one goalkeeper's confidence shattered again after potentially losing a game. And, we were, 18 minutes away from losing again last night. So, and he would have got all of the blame and he would have got all of the hate. On the face of it, I think perhaps he was unlucky in the end with the goal. But it's easy to say in hindsight. I'd have probably been one of those people digging him out for it if he did lose. So, look, going forward, Meslier is not the man if we get to the Premier League, but he certainly made enough contributions to bounce back and potentially leave Leeds as a solid goalkeeper, mostly. Is as nice as I can put it.
What did you make of his short redemption last night, then, Gilly? Because look, I was with you, Lou. I was absolutely shouting shit at him down the television every time he was put under pressure. He dropped the ball, and it very much felt the Meslier of low confidence. And I think, look, credit where credit's due. Sheff United made Bramall Lane quite intimidating for that first 20-25 minutes, and it was quite loud. And I'm sure without Ampadu in there to calm things, it was probably a very, very different situation for him. But he's a professional goalkeeper, and he should be we should be getting consistent performances from him now, week in, week out, and we have done in recent weeks. And that was probably arguably the first reminder that he has still got that stupid, flap in him and stuff. But there was a very small, a short turnaround for his redemption last night.
There absolutely was. I think if you look back at that first period and where the problems first started, he comes for one and looks like he's going to do well with it and just completely gets it wrong. He's not under any pressure. He just flaps at it and we get away with it, but you can see that really affects him. I think that the one where Gruev clears it off the line, which is a brilliant header, by the way, fantastic header and reading and positioning. I think Mez is fouled in that. I think that is a foul on him. But he's already in that position where his confidence has been knocked by the fact that he flapped at one that he wasn't under pressure for. And you could tell that it had affected him. And I think it's not my term. I saw somebody else use it on social media earlier, that this team is mentality monsters. And I think what they were talking about is the ability to focus on the job and just get the job done. And they were talking about the attack. But the mental strength to go from making a big mistake and then scoring an own goal, which I think is really unlucky. But he knows that that's him that scored that. And his confidence were already shot. To then play himself back into the game and make some really top saves. There were one that came through a crowd in second half and you're thinking, oh shit, if this goes in.
Yeah.
And he just held on to it and you're thinking, fucking fair play.
Yeah, but I was cringing there.
We've seen those goals go past him where he's not quite reacted in time.
Yeah.
And the way we were watching it is that ball's going past him, but he's quicker than all of us. Luckily,
the one the other week was very similar. The header when he saved it, and it was already up behind him. Who was that against now? Do you remember it was headed down and the ticker had already changed score on my telly. It was like fucking it's gone in, you know what I mean? But he'd literally jumped behind him and just clawed it out. I can't remember who it was against. Somebody in the comments will surely have a better memory than I will. Coventry, Danny. Correct, it was Coventry. And again, it was a really important time of the game, wasn't it? I think we've got to.
Oh, give him his due. James B just beat Danny. He didn't copy him, but he just beat him.
Sorry, James. Sorry, I do apologise. But I tend to lean with you as well, Lou. But I don't see Meslier. I don't see, and arguably it should be. I don't see goalkeeper being one of our major revamp positions in the summer if we do go up. I just because I think Meslier is good enough. I know. Look, people are going to disagree and they're going to say he's absolute dog shit and that, but
it's a matter of comparison, isn't it? Like, I mean, if all Anthony Patterson at Sunderland, a couple of howlers the last few weeks, an important time this season. Every other team, Watford aren't playing that backman anymore. He made loads of mistakes. Good goalkeepers don't make mistakes as often as Meslier.
Alisson have made plenty this season.
He's a good goalkeeper. Michael Cooper's a good goalkeeper. James Trafford obviously has made 0 errors and they've barely conceded a goal. I mean, a lot of it's down to him. I think they've got one good centre-back and one really good goalkeeper in Trafford. Meslier makes too many mistakes at this level and he's going to face an awful lot more in the Premier League. And was he any better in the Premier League? It's all a bit of a blur. It was a terrible team in general, wasn't it? So
I don't think he was the season. I thought he was poor the season we went down. He made some good saves. Leicester from memory. Really
felt
good
like every shot was going in.
Yeah, it was almost going in.
And he was very, very vulnerable.
Yeah, but I think we've got to bear in mind. Look, there's not many good goalkeepers in the Premier League, and when they're up against Salah every week and Cole Palmer and, your elite players that actually doesn't feel to me. I would rather spend the money elsewhere. If we're going to go and spend 15-20 million on a goalkeeper and that 15-20 million can be reinvested sensibly elsewhere, I just think we've got far more bigger fish to fry. If it gets to the goalkeeper, fine. But really, I think he's probably good enough. Look, he still holds the record for the youngest goalkeeper to get the most clean sheets, beating, I think it was Joe Hart, and before that, Peter Schmeichel, if I remember. I might be wrong.
The recruitment and the management team are not going to forget these mistakes.
No, absolutely not.
If we're going up, and there's all these meetings over the summer, Meslier is going to be one of the biggest talking points on the agenda, and they're going to be these. His saves are obviously important, but highlighted has been the mistakes, and we'd probably have the league won by now, and that is I don't think that's us. Like if you we're 5 points clear now, you add the mistakes. Even if you're being generous, say it's another 6 points, that's the league's done. And I'm not moaning, by the way. I'm very happy in the position we're in, but I'm saying the league would have been won in February. Like these things are not going to get overlooked when it comes to Meslier. I don't think.
Who was our goalkeeper the season we finished 9th?
Meslier?
It was Meslier. Yeah. So people can sit here and tell me I'm completely wrong, but actually, am I right?
He has been there. Well, if you think Kiko was edged out the season before, wasn't he? Because it was Meslier that got us promoted.
Yeah.
Sorry, it wasn't Meslier that got us promoted. Meslier was the keeper in the season that we got promotion, is what I meant.
Yeah. And then it was obviously Big Sam that took him out the firing line and put Joel Robles in goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we were like, he's actually really good. It's like, no, he's just more solid than Meslier at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, we struggled. We do struggle. Look, if we could get a new goalkeeper for a sensible amount of money, and with that money is there, yes, Meslier has got worse. Has he got worse? I think he's probably got more. I think he's probably got less confident, and I think that probably ties in quite nicely with his performances. Because look, has he been worse these last 5 weeks other than the last 25 minutes of last night? Well, he's been arguably one of our better players.
We've conceded 2 goals and we've scored 18 and we're unbeaten in 16 games. Like the stats don't even suggest that we should even be talking about him, perhaps. Like
no, absolutely. And he's climbed because people were telling me he's 17th in the league for this, he's 17th in the league for he's now climbed well up into that top half. I mean, look, we shouldn't probably be gloated about our keeper being in the top half of some statistics when we're so far and out in the league. And I completely agree with what you say. We probably would have already had another 7 or 8 points by now if Meslier hadn't made a couple of howlers. But we don't watch all the other teams week in, week out. They'll probably say the similar about the rest of the goalkeepers in the league. So
Liam B Wednesday they moan about Beadle, Sunderland moan about Patterson, that they're goalkeepers. The fact is, you can dig out negative stats to suit any argument you make. You know what it's like.
Absolutely.
And we'll find
and positives.
Suits us, like we just will.
And positives. Meslier said Meslier is probably the best shot stopper in the league. Every keeper makes mistakes. It's important how he has bounced back from them. I think he'll still be a Leeds player next season. However, on the flip side, we've had a super chat from William Morrison. Thank you, William. No more sentiment FC. Thank them, but be ruthless. What do you make of that, Gilly?
There's a lot of talk about it. I think a lot of that was with the likes of Cooper and Alien and so on after relegation is, it's time to cut that cord and bring in new faces. And I think if you consider the players that we've still got that were around from that period, it's Struijk, it's Meslier, and that's about it, really. So I think in terms of Sentiment FC, I think if this playing squad does do what it appears that it's about to do and gets promoted, I think there is an argument that says they've earned the right for a go. But we know that there are serious deficits to be overcome. There's 23 senior players in the squad. You can't do that in Premier League, and we definitely need somebody. Piro's having a good season. Let's not get that wrong. He's having a good season. But we've got one reliable goal scorer that plays up front. So there's work to be done in the squad. We don't have a 10 in the squad. Farker wanted one at the start of the season. We didn't sign one. We didn't sign one in January. A lot of people were saying, well, that's great, because if we do get promoted, then we've not spent money on somebody that's a Championship 10. We go and spend money on somebody that's a Premier League 10.
It's simple, isn't it, really? Like, it's a massive position in the Premier League, and we need to go and find another Rafinha. It's as simple as that. We need another 10, another special playmaking player who is going to be a massive part. Maybe not Rafinha good, but someone, we need to dig out a gem for the Premier League.
Yeah, I trust this recruitment team. However, looking at the summer, the fact that we've gone out and recruited really, really well for the budget that we've got. We should be financially all right with the sales of Archie. Rutter and with Cree going last summer. In terms of finances, I think going into the Premier League, we're in a really strong position. But look, I think we should be ruthless. Yeah, I agree, William. But also, it's very dangerous to replace a full. We can't go out and just think we can get rid of. It's not going to happen. Just simply not going to happen. We're not going to get rid of 20 players and bring in 20 players of Premier League. There's a sort of process that we're going to have to go through, and the first process is signing players good enough to stay in that league. That is our first. If we get promoted, I know we're talking hypothetically here, but if we get promoted, that's going to be our first. That's going to be our first. First part call. Thank you ever so much for
just the last point on that. It is. I know they got away with it in the end, but just remember how abject Forest were that first season. They got promoted and they went out and signed 40-odd players to the point where they couldn't even register Lewis O'Brien and they couldn't even register the players that they'd bought that summer. It was madness. And yet they got away with it in the end because we were so shit in the end. And that's why they got away with it. They came and they got a result against us at Ellen Road, but they were one of the worst sides I'd seen come on players that season. They were awful. So that doesn't work. You can't just go and replace the entire squad. And I think if you try to do that, then you're going to end up rivaling Derby and Saints for
Daniel Farker
lowest points total.
Daniel Farker doesn't want that either. And of course, there's the whole thing around Farker as well with he wasn't backed at Norwich and, people say he's not going to be good enough for the Premier League and things like that. He's going to want more players. Of course he is. If he wanted more players in the January window in the Championship, then he's going to want players when there's money in potentially, the next league up. But it will be sensible and it will be measured. You're right. There's not going to be a big, mass exodus of players because we could talk all night about who's good enough for the Prem, and some of it is going to be unknown. Some players might step up, but there's at least 5 or 6 there that are already set and ready.
And there's some that are out of contract as well. Firpo's out of contract, isn't he? So there's decisions to be made there as well.
Yeah, and I think probably based on performance, he probably deserves one if he wants to stay. Gammon Chops last night said he was the best left back in the league, and he's probably right.
Chops.
He's probably right. So yeah, I mean, Firpo will probably get another contract, I'd say, before.
Yeah, it probably is right. And I think again, going into if we get promoted, they're probably stalling to see what happens, because if we do go up, we need another left back. We need a defensive-minded left back to go with Firpo. There's going to be times we need to attack when Firpo can start. There's going to be or come on off the bench, and then there's going to be times when we're actually going to be backs to the wall jobs against your Liverpools and your Arsenals, and it is going to be a tough league. So let's sort of try and move away from speculate about next season and let's talk a little bit more about last night. We've got a few starred messages I just want to fly through before we move on. Gilly's wearing the best Leeds shirt ever, in my opinion.
Blue Strongbow.
Very, very nice one. Very nice one, that one. I've got it in the white as well. I've got that one.
And you look like Danny Mills if you take your cap off, Gilly.
He's talks as much shite as Danny Mills. Richard Organ said, Gilly, you've seen that Brendan got engaged recently. Any chance you'll get an invite to the wedding? Not sure.
Best pals.
Bremner's Ghost, I'm going to save that starred message because it's something I do want to come on to in a second. Southey, same for you. I know you can't see what I've starred, but I'm just going to fly through. Smarty says his Woba still broken. Anyone remember him? He was on the bench last night, so I assume not.
Do you know, I thought I'd seen him on the bench, and when I were having a look just in the...
he was on some and not on others.
He's not showing on the SofaScore bench, but Sky Sports showed that he was. But in the build-up, Sky Sports had said the only injury concerns are Verba and Bamford.
He wasn't.
And I was watching that thinking, well, Ampadu's not injured then, because it were all rumoured before the team broke. So they said that Ampadu was fine. They said that Verba was injured, but then they put him on the bench. But then he's not on the bench when I'm looking on SofaScore or another site. So I'm not even sure if he was.
I don't think he was at the game.
I don't remember seeing him. He certainly wasn't there when they were celebrating and what have you.
I didn't see him. I didn't see him, but it was definitely named on Sky Sports. Hit
like
if you hit on you. Couple more starred comments. Yeah, but Ampadu's not carrying your weight, Luke. Very kind. Seeing as though Mark Edison's been on the Jonathan Brownlee diet, obviously, because he's so slim these days. Got to run a marathon triathlon or whatever it is tomorrow, Mark, I suppose. You fucking cheeky twat. Smarty says the stats aren't starting G right because the guy barely faces any shot. Basically, Smarty saying that the stats are all against. The stats don't make any. The stats only make a difference if they're against Leeds, I'm guessing, because Leeds have got such a good defence. But I'm talking about Meslier. But actually, those are the stats I was talking about, Smarty. He's actually shot up the rankings in recent weeks. Those stats that we all saw the numbers of from Opta or whoever it was, where he was right near the bottom for shots faced. And
he did look awful, didn't it?
Yeah. It was like in the bottom 4 or 5, I think, 17th or 18th or something daft. But he's actually shot well up into the top half of the table in recent weeks. So. Bremner's Ghost finally says, remember John Lukic and David Seaman made a load of mistakes when they were at Leeds and went on to arguably 2 of the best goalkeepers in the country. Let's move on from Meslier chat. And let's talk about the how we lined up, and I just want to talk about how much better they were than us, I suppose, for the first 25 minutes in midfield. But I felt we got bullied. I said at the start, I thought Gruev and Ampadu were very, very ineffective. They were obviously put in there to do a job and nullify and neutralise their attacking threat, and we failed to do that. Does anybody have any reason for that? Do you think they were just better than us, or they wanted it more, or it was more intimidating? What's your reason for that, Gilly, do you think?
They were playing.
Go on, Lou.
They were playing above their capabilities, I think, for 20 minutes. I think it was at a pace they're not used to playing. I'm not going to sit here and say I've watched loads of Sheffield United games, but the ones where I have and I've wanted them to lose, I don't think they've been great, and they've definitely not played at that pace, which is why they didn't keep up. Their fitness looked terrible. I mean, Gus Harmer looked like me coming on. Like honestly, he looks like one of those blokes who probably puts on weight really quickly, and
like a retired boxer, didn't he?
Well, yeah, he clearly wasn't fit, and he did look big on the pitch, and he couldn't keep up. I mean, he shouldn't have been on the field by the end of it, to be honest. Like he made easily 2 yellow cards in there for Harmer. Wasn't fit. They were desperate. They put him on. Their subs didn't match ours. But that
Gruev,
was it.
Sorry, I meant Gruev. I do apologise. My mind runs away with myself.
We figured, yeah. But yeah, that 20 minutes was them playing out of their skins against Leeds in a big game, and they were never going to keep up those levels. When Leeds do that for the whole game and they score early, you know we're going to batter someone, and we just took a lot longer to come into the game. And yeah, like Gilly said earlier, we had to hold on. We conceded a second goal. I think, it would have been very difficult. Even playing for the rest of it, we might have got a draw out of it, but keeping up that standard when they're not used to it and passing quickly and moving and pressing. There's a reason Harry Clark went off. Solomon was turning him inside out for this, at least the last 15, 20 minutes of that first half. Just as we were getting into it. And I think that sort of speaks volumes.
Yeah. Gilly, would you agree with that? Do you think there's any other underlying reason why we looked so poor at the start, or they looked so good at the start?
I think they were very definitely up for it. I think, Hamface is a Sheff United fan. He'd clearly got them riled for it. I think if you look at Vinny Souza and Peck in midfield, they really wanted it. They were really up for it, and they were pressing. So, less so Raksak, who I thought were really poor on the night. But Campbell and Berardi Diaz, I thought, were pressing on us. Were closing us down well. Early on, Strike and Bogle to a lesser extent, but they looked a bit unsure on the ball. It was kind of they wanted rid of it, a bit of a hot potato, which is not really how we played. It's not how we played later in the game by any stretch. But they were really on at us. Burrows were getting forward. Clark was nowhere. You're right, but Burrows were getting forward and pressuring us as well. And I think they were really bang up for it. And ultimately, it was about weathering that storm early on. If you look at the momentum graphs that have been splashed around on social media, you can really see that it's almost like there was just a cut off 25 minutes, and then all of a sudden we're in the game, and we worked our way into it because we worked really hard, and I think that was the positive is there were no drop in the level of effort, and this team's good enough that if they're putting in the effort, eventually they're going to get the reward.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair reflection from both of you. I think, yeah, as people have said earlier on, it was almost their cup final. It was their biggest game of the season, the game that they could have made a real imprint on the league, and they would have gone top last night. And they wanted it more, as far as I was concerned, for that first 20-25 minutes. I think it was a catalogue of things. I think they targeted Meslier well, which made us more nervous at the back. I thought they pressed really, really well. They initiate a press almost immediately rather than letting Meslier just do his sort of which side am I going? They just pressed straight away, put us under a lot of pressure. But they tired, and it goes back to their fitness. They did tire, didn't they? And I think Wilder probably made the wrong subs at the wrong times as well. I
don't think he had much choice, though, did he? I mean, if you're Wilder, you don't put Aimer on in that state. It was really clear from the fact that he clearly wasn't fit that he felt that he had no real choice. And they had three players, if you remember, we talked about beforehand, didn't we? They had three players that were a doubt for the game, and they were all on the bench. O'Hare did nothing at all in the game. I thought he was really poor on the night. He came off. They couldn't keep that pace up, but he had to make changes, it felt, because they were gassed. We'd have gone 5 or 6 if they'd have kept it as it was, instead of bringing on the new ones. So, but I really enjoyed Bogle running him on the outside when he chopped him down, because Bogle clearly knew he had him, because he'll be looking at them and he'll have played with them and he'll be going, yeah, you're mine, no chance you're catching me, and he had to take him down. But I think Lou's right.
Well, nobody stretches the pitch like us, though, do they? That's why they got so knackered, because when we had the ball, the guys that were made to press us were just getting knackered because they weren't getting near us, because we're stretching the pitch. And the longer that happened, that's why the scoreline ended up as it did, because they didn't have any of the ball. And O'Hare ran out of steam because he was doing that. He was O'Haring him around, if you like.
Do you remember a program called Bucky O'Hare?
Yeah.
About that little mad rabbit who used to live in space. Little green rabbit. Jesus Christ, that's just brought a flashback to me. I used to love that.
The best tweet I saw last night was, that bloke on
him that don't chew his food.
Yeah, called Bevo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That lad called Bevo, and it said Callum O'Hare tonight, and it was just a picture of Bevo.
Yeah.
With his teeth.
Did you know that he's the world's biggest cook now?
Yeah. He's doing some weird
stuff.
What
he bakes like big cakes, or?
Yeah, we can leave it at that if you want.
A couple of reasons coming in the comments why they thought it was why we might start poorly. The excitement and euphoria from the Sunderland game may have taken a toll. There was another one that I've lost, but it was along the lines of, in fact, it's just under it. Oh, there we go. Richard Hogan. The slow start was due to a lack of leadership and manager being in the gantry and captain being injured. Good point as well, Yeah. It probably took us a little bit extra to get into the game. So, I was quite disappointed with them after that first 25, 30 minutes or so. I thought we very much looked the best side. They still had a couple of chances where Meslier pulled us out the shit, but yeah, all in all, then. Right, let's move on to Farke and some of his. Well, it wasn't. Well, how was it his decision? Because he was up in a gantry. Was he allowed to be wired up? Did anybody notice last night?
He was on the phone for most of it.
He was on phone. Yeah.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
You're allowed to do that.
I didn't notice, but
it might have been his missus. We don't know we were on phone, so. But
yeah, I'll have a chicken vindaloo, a garlic naan. I'll be home about 10. But yeah, I think. So we saw something very, very different last night, and it was early substitutions, and I think that shocked Sheff United and Wilder. And me, and everybody else. I think it
was 55, wasn't it? 55 minutes. It really
58, I think, wasn't it?
Was it? By the time they got on, yeah.
So it was something we've certainly not seen much of, if at all, this season. So obviously, we replaced who came off first? It was
Aronson and Gruev.
Aronson and Gruev, correct.
Graham gave both of them a 3 in his write-up.
Which is miles off. I mean, they still didn't have that port. Gruev cleared one off the line. Aronson played relatively well.
I mean, that clear off the line is worth a goal. It's definitely going in if he doesn't do that.
I don't really agree with a lot of what
that might be a bit of a clickbait rate in that one.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, bit harsh. In such a euphoric win, giving a Leeds player a 3 out of 10 last night is a bit much.
Yeah, it's absolutely clickbait for me. But yeah, I think the subs were really, really good last night. I think I just didn't expect them so early, first of all. But then you're
not rowing back on your Joseph position, are you?
No, look, I said I was on with Joe last night, and I said about Joseph. Even when Joseph came on, it allowed Piru that a little bit because he wasn't getting much of a sniff. It just gave him that extra half a yard in and around. He was still almost playing as a second striker, but because we were controlling the game, he wasn't asked to play as a number 10. We weren't giving him the ball and asking him to spray passes out wide and beat men with his skill. But although he did do a great bit of skill on the edge of the box and sent two Sheff United players for a hot dog.
It was a hell of a turn, that wasn't it?
One half, yeah. But yeah, talk to me, subs. Thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't a surprise who came on for me, but it was just that bit of a surprise, a nice surprise, pleasantly surprised that they came on so early because we're so used to seeing it wait until. So he wants to give the players enough opportunity to fix any issue that they've got themselves into, doesn't he? He's spoken about that before. So, I wasn't surprised at the changes that were made, just the timing of them. But we'd seen. I mean, how many times have we seen it now? When Rothwell comes on, he's a danger. He wants the ball. He'll carry the ball, and he's really, really good on set pieces, and that's a big deal for us, especially when Strike's on, because he's a threat from set pieces. We've seen that. He's got 5 goals this season, albeit a couple of penalties, but he is a threat. No, it was Firpo, wasn't it? Firpo assist for Tanaka's goal.
For Tanaka's goal, yeah.
Was it Firpo? Was it Firpo won the first header?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
There we go again with his. That's from a corner but he shouldn't necessarily have a much right to be winning headers from a corner because he's not big, is he? He's not overly tall.
He's not a big lad. No, he's not. I'd forgotten to make the point when you mentioned it before, but one of the things that was impressive about Firpo's goal was that he'd had a free header about 5-6 minutes beforehand, and he ballooned it over. Putting that out of your mind and intentionally making that late run and putting yourself in that place, it's a really good. Again, it's that mental strength. Firpo has made a mistake. He should have done better with the first chance, but he's not worried about that. He's putting himself in a position where he can go and do it again, and he did it with a brilliant header. I think for me, the changes themselves weren't a surprise. I was just pleasantly surprised by the timing.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to see a little bit more of it, actually. And I think one of the things we've learned from Farker is he is whilst he's quite rigid and regimented in his beliefs and how things should be played and when subs should be made and who should be coming on. I almost feel like sometimes in some games this season and certainly towards the start and certainly last season, his subs were already planned before, despite the game state. It almost felt like he was bringing subs on at certain times, irrespective of the scoreline, irrespective of the time of the game, irrespective of the game state. But actually, he's become a little bit of a chameleon, and he's learning, isn't he?
I think some of that is adaptation to potential criticism and stuff like that. But I think Farker likes a regimented way of accumulating points in a certain time of the season, and I think that's what he's been doing with. We make our subs at 70 minutes, regardless, and now he's trying to be a little bit more unpredictable when it's the business end of the season. I think that's what we're seeing. That's what I'm seeing. But Farker absolutely hears the mocking of the subs on 70 and how predictable it is and everything. It's what you want to see from your coach. We said this last week about the the substitutions, and they've got better and better, and the subs have made a lot more sense. So yeah, that's just what a good coach does, and it's reassuring when he's doing that. Like last night, I think we'd have probably all said we'd have expected to see Ramazani instead of Nonto, but Nonto came on, had quite a good little cameo last night. Nonto,
yeah. It was a good save from his attempt.
One half a good save. That was very, very. It was almost Somerville-esque, wasn't it? Where
it was
him, where he's cut inside and he's smashed it. Because if you're bringing your left winger off, so 9 times out of 10, we would have probably expected, like you said, see Ramazani. We know Nonto can play out there, and arguably, I think he had his best season in the Premier League the season we got relegated. He was our best player, and he played the majority
on the left. Yeah, absolutely.
However, it just goes to show that actually there is probably that little bit of bend and that bit of flexibility in Farke and his thoughts, and I think that probably did. I just taken the chat off, but that actually did shock them a little bit because they thought, right, if lad Nonto comes on, Wilder will have gone. Nonto comes on, he's only got a right peg, he's going to go down right hand side, and you know what I mean. And it didn't expect him to come on left. He didn't expect us to make changes on 58 minutes and take Aronson off probably and drop Piru in as a second striker or whatever you want to call it. But I completely agree. I think the subs probably did win us that game last night. Ultimately, I mean, their fitness probably didn't help them and their cause. But I think there's a lot to be said for the substitutions. And look, it was only 3 months ago we were questioning whether Farke was the right man for the job and questioning his substitute. I wasn't, but some were questioning Farke and whether he's right from the job. And substitutions was a big sticking point at that stage. Yeah.
Also, we've seen a meltdown from some of our fan base about some of the players that Blunt signed, and now we've seen that Tom Cannon is crap and not worth 10 million. Hamza Chowdhury is also crap. So like these guys are definitely not good enough for the Premier League. They've put all their eggs in one basket, Blunts, and if they go up, they've got pretty much that bang average team for the Prem. There's no flexibility there at all. Tom Cannon is not a Premier League striker. He scored a load of penalties at Stoke, and Leicester didn't want him, who are going to be in the Championship. I think that says a lot. And they thought they were getting a really good player, but what did he do last night other than volley a few Leeds defenders?
That's right. And you look at the comparisons that if we both get promoted next season, they're stuck with these players that they're going to have to try and offload, which they probably won't be able to going into the league. We've got this flexibility. We've got that financial capability then to actually go and bring somebody in effectively. So I think it's been great. I think the planning's been really, really good so far. Let me just fly through a few more starred comments. Now we've touched on substitutions. Steve Brown makes a great comment here because I thought Dan James was relatively poor last night until I actually saw the Leeds United official tweet from this afternoon where they said Dan James quiet night in inverted commas, and he actually got through a lot of work. But I think by Dan James standards, the expectation now is that we expect a lot more from him because we know his capabilities. So that big players that weren't necessarily on top form still produced big moments. DJ with 2 assists. That was it for Piro's, the second assist he got when he chased it down and kept the ball in. That's at 90 minutes. He'd been running around for 90 minutes at that stage. Just the character, man, honestly. Piro with a world in, Firpo with a goal and an assist. Fantastic in it. Matteo Joseph thought he was playing rugby league last night with that shot. I'd literally tweeted, because my digital radio's a minute or so behind, I'd tweeted a picture of Donkey from Shrek and just put Joseph. And then we'd already scored. We'd scored. And I was like, fuck. Do I delete it? Nah, fuck it. Leave it. But yeah, Joseph.
Deleting's cheating.
Yeah, I know I give Joseph a lot of flack and stick. And that's not necessarily... There's no bad blood there at all. It's not because I dislike the guy. I just think the guys who like him, I dislike more than that. So
it's not even the guys that like him, is it? It's the ones that are saying Piro's shit and Joseph is the answer.
Yeah.
And he's joint top scorer in league, and Joseph, for all of his talent, and he is naturally gifted. You can see that he's a talented player, just ain't ready yet.
You've got a striker going that well. Last night, even in the first half, Solomon and DJ were a little bit selfish. Couple of bad decisions, And you've got Pirou in that. What happens when you get the ball to him? Like the same thing happened in the Sunderland game. You got the ball into his feet, dangerous shot, he gets a shot off, he makes something happen, and he's really good at playing players in as well. That shot last night was an absolute rocket, and that's product of DJ not cutting in and trying to whip the ball in with his left foot. As more often than not, it doesn't always come off particularly with his left foot. His right-footed crosses are always fantastic, but lays the ball off to Pirou, who rifles it into the net. I think it says a lot about that, and it probably got recognised. But Solomon was doing the same thing. He was being a little bit too selfish, and you had Pirou trying to make space for himself to finish off a chance.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think Pirou was just so dangerous, and look, as I was probably going to sort of elaborate slightly, Joseph does give us that alternate option. It gives us that option to actually drop Pirou in slightly behind, and it worked last night. He got a goal from it. It's nice to have somebody that works a lot harder in front of him, and almost you've got to do that. And I know you've said this, Gilly, if you don't play Aronson, you need to play Joseph, really, because they both do a lot of the same stuff in terms of
he's got the legs, hasn't he? He's going to do that work.
Yeah, and he just needs a bit more composure. It works for Spain under 21s. He's got heaps of goals for them, and it will come from him, but he's not ready at this level to be a starting number 9. I expect if we go up next season, he will be loaned out to another championship side to try and get some more minutes in his legs at a decent level.
I'd like to see him go to Spain or something like that.
Yeah, and he might well go to Spain, mightn't he, on loan? Because then he's going to play in their top flight, because it's a completely different beast at Premier League.
Much slower, and he will get much more minutes and hopefully get a few goals and come back a much better player for us. So I will. Again, it's no hate against Joseph at all. Just to confirm, when I'm tweeting, it's all in jest. But Steve Brown makes a point here. Rothwell has been great all season, but let's not forget he's been taking set pieces all season, and we ain't scored many until the last 2 games.
Now, just on that, if I may. Strike's the biggest threat we've got, the biggest goal threat we've got from set pieces. And he hasn't been playing for a lot of recent games. So, he's been out for a fair old while. So is it that big a surprise? Now, I would like Rodon to do a bit more. He's fantastic at getting a touch on the ball, which is great when you're in defence, because actually, as long as it's moving away from goal, it doesn't really matter. As long as you're getting some distance on it, it doesn't matter where it's going, does it? You can have a 50 pence head and get rid of it. But when you're attacking a set piece and what have you, you've got to be quite precise with it, which is not his strong suit, which is why he's not getting as many goals. So it's not really a surprise, especially when you consider Dan James, Solomon, Aronson, Ramazani. I mean, Ramazani did score in header, actually, but he must have been smallest player on the pitch when he did. We are not blessed with giants on the pitch, and you look at the size of the Sheff United team compared to ours, and that's been a theme throughout. We cannot compete in the air with a lot of the teams. That's why we have to get it down and play.
Yeah.
Ian Ward said, "Hang on, Gilly, are you giving Pascal flowers?"
I've always said he's adequate at this level. He's a goal threat.
In a minute, you're going to be saying how great Brendan Aronson is. We need to calm down here.
Fucking no. We only won because he went off.
Moving on, let's continue. Gavin James has said, I don't think anyone thought for a minute that Aronson would be coming off for Joseph. Farke again proved he knows best. No punt.
I mean, he did go off in the previous game, didn't he? So it doesn't take a massive stretch to think that he might do that again.
Yeah. And Bremner's goes, it's nice to have a set piece specialist again. It is nice to have, and it's something on this, actually. It is something we are going to need if and when we get promoted. Yeah. Would you be tempted to take a punt on Rothwell at that level as a bench player? Not obviously probably going to start many games in central midfield for us in the Premier League, but would you be interested in keeping him around the place? He's clearly talented, he's a good footballer, and his set pieces alone are probably worth a few quid.
Absolutely. Lou? There's definitely a benefit to keeping players that have just had a full season at a club with a bit of momentum going into a new season, being around the team. So yeah, absolutely. I don't see why not. And the same with Solomon. If the players are good enough to be playing in the league above, and we have an opportunity to sign players that are loans into perms, then I'm all for it, because Rothwell won't be too expensive. Solomon might be, because it's Daniel Levy and he'll probably want 30 million or something.
Well, it's been said that they'll accept between 10 and 15, I think I read today.
I thought I'd seen 15 to 20, but 10 to 15 would be better, obviously.
Well, that would be reasonable. And I guess some of his price tag will be around the injury thing with Solomon as well.
Yeah.
Because although we've got him fit and firing and everything else, it did take him a while to get going, didn't it? And his contributions have been more in the last sort of 10, 12 games than they were in the first part of the season. So, yeah, absolutely. Like, Rothwell is a good player. He's proved his worth. And he's adaptable as well. I think he is really good going forward, but I think he knows he reads the game so well, which is what you need from somebody in that position. He knows when to sit back and he knows when to progress. His set pieces are good. So yeah, absolutely. Love Joe Rothwell.
Yeah, I think we'd feel we'd have his pants down if we paid double what we paid for Tanaka for him, though, wouldn't we? I think Mark Edison's right there. If we can strike a low value deal, I'm not sure how long he's got left on his contract, but I wouldn't be paying.
Negotiated there, like he's not going to be part of the Bournemouth squad, is he?
No.
And he's 30 now, so he'd probably be looking for a last big move at 30. You think? And if that's going to be a 3-year contract, which is probably what he's going to be pushing for, at least you would think. I think it's important. It's an element that he's got in his game that he's happy to receive the ball wherever he is. And in the Premier League, you have to have players that are willing to take the ball when they're under pressure and look after it a bit, because the rest of the team needs a bit of breathing space. Because when we were there, a lot of the time, when it wasn't Raf, a lot of the time it was, let's get into forwards as quick as we can, and then let's attack as quick as we can. And then when it broke down, we're like, oh, fuck. And then you're out of position. And you need to have players that have got that little bit of capability of giving themselves a bit of time on the ball. He's impressed me this season. I said I didn't want to sign him in first place. He's impressed me this season. I think he's had a really good season. And as a squad member, not as a starter, I don't think anybody's saying that, but as a squad member, with the experience he's got and the fact that we don't have much experience in the squad, I think it's worth a go for that value.
But not just that, Joe Rothwell he's playing well because of the role he's got in the team. He's clearly comfortable with the role he's got in the team and what he's being asked to do when he comes on. And that's why he's delivering. Not just being a technically very good footballer. The role Farke has given him in the team has given him the opportunity to succeed. And I was the same. I was slightly underwhelmed by Joe Rothwell as a signing. And the only thing I want from Joe Rothwell before the end of the season is just to bang one in the top corner from outside of the
I wonder where that was going. I want from Joe Rothwell before the end of the season is to bang.
While I watch. Get it now.
So I've just put a poll into the chat. So those of you that are watching through YouTube, and I think you might have to subscribe and like us. Maybe you don't, but you can do that anyway. You can vote on this week's Man of the Match or OKB Man of the Match, and we will announce it very, very shortly, because I appreciate we've been going for over an hour. But I've just got a couple more things I just wanted to speak about. First of all, another relatively unsung hero of yesterday, Joe Rodon. I thought it was absolutely immense yesterday. Not his best mate, didn't have his best mate beside him, but continuing that rich vein of proper hard bastard centre-back form. And he got took out a couple of times, just got up, shrugged it off. If he stays down, he's hurt, don't you, Rodon, sorry.
He does like a whinge, though, doesn't he? He loves a whinge about it.
And he likes to get into the ref. Have you noticed he goes really, really red? He's got almost like a rash that comes over his face when he's knackered. But I think he was absolutely incredible again for us last night. And he's, some of his recent form is part of the reason we're not conceding many shots on targets. He's just an absolute fucking unit of a centre back, and he's not that big, is he? And I think he's, he started the season for me relatively averagely or poorly, and it was almost like or not one of them loan signings that when you sign they turn into shit. You know what I mean? And I didn't know if we'd made the right decision spending all that money on him. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Rodon this season, Lou?
I mean, I think it's more impressive that somebody that throws himself around that much and contributes what he does is staying fit for as long as he has. And he played a lot of games.
Don't say that now.
Touch wood quick.
I think that he's just incredibly impressive, and I think he got Leeds very early, didn't he? And probably wanted that signing, wanted to sign for us, and I think his brother seems to have adopted Leeds as well. Yeah,
he's a bit better. He's a bit better than that fucking McKennie's mate, isn't he? As well, do you know what I mean? Who used to knock about 69 or whatever he was called. You made a point there about when he makes up what he likes in mass. He makes up in being Welsh. The Welsh are very similar, very proud, very similar to Yorkshire folk, aren't they? And we sort of get that. And I would argue we almost share a mutual respect in terms of how proud we are of our homeland and where we're from. And it's always a talking point, isn't it? Like you don't go to other counties and you don't hear them singing Shropshire, 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 anything like that. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them, isn't it? Like.
They will.
Yeah, that's it. They'll kick it off. Somerset.
That's getting clipped.
No, fucking great. But yeah, I think there are a lot of similarities there, and they're also notorious tough bastards like most of us in Yorkshire. So.
He's so quick as well, though, isn't he? That's one of the biggest points of his game. He's not only is he good and he's strong, and carrying the ball out. I like him doing that as well. But he's so quick that he can cover other players as well if they've got it wrong or if they're getting a bit of a tiz.
Both him and Striker deceivingly quick, but they're both very quick for centre backs. Both very, very quick. I've seen.
I don't know about that one.
Well, you're not going to give him his flowers, are you? But welcome,
I think
Paul.
It's more turn that's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah. He's not quick off the mark, but when he gets going, mate, he can motor.
Yeah.
Let's go on and talk about your man of the matches. And there's a clear and obvious outstanding winner for me. But I'll start with you, Gilly.
It's Firpo for me. I thought he were good all night. I don't think he were particularly bad, even when we were under the cosh. He got an assist. He got his goal. I've spoken about the chance he missed, but he put himself in a position to go and try again almost straight away afterwards. I thought he looked dangerous all night, and he were working well again with Solomon. So there were a couple of others that I don't want to mention because I don't want to steal somebody else's thunder. But yeah, for me, if I'm going to pick one, then I'm going Firpo.
Lou?
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I think he's the clear candidate yesterday to the all-round performance. Just brilliant. And he loves a win, you can tell. Right grumpy bugger when we've lost. Real competitive guy. Brilliant.
And he loves a goal.
And he loves a goal. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been Firpo for me, and a special mention, an honourable mention, certainly for Rodon for me as well, and for Dan James as well. I thought Dan James, although he didn't start very well, I thought he came into the game, got his 2 assists, and yeah, never stopped running. You look at all the scorers last night, and I think I started it. All the scorers were on the pitch for the whole game.
Yeah,
and that just goes to show that fitness that we've got. Roland Button has also said we now have goals from 14 different players and about as many with assists. We are dangerous from anywhere, which is something we lacked certainly last season. It was something where we struggled. Became over reliant on Somerville or on Rutter to pull us out the shit or do something exciting, and it came a bit tedious and a bit samey, and we got worked out, didn't we? I can't see the same happening this season. I think we've just got too much strength in depth, something that a lot of the other teams just simply haven't got around us. So, which is weird, actually. When you look at the teams who've been relegated, they probably should have a bit more strength in depth, I think. They've got good 11s, but you look. I mean, Burnley is starting Jadon Anthony, who couldn't really get a kick for us last season, and he's playing all right.
That's been the difference. that has been the difference, hasn't it? That we've been able, when we have been struggling, and if earlier in the season, not recently, but if Dan James and Solomon don't look like they're doing it, you've got Ramazani and Nonto instead of Anthony to come on, and that's a level difference, and they're starting him. He was their only real threat against us. Yeah. I know they didn't attack us at all, but that was it. He was the only one that we're trying to give it a go.
Well, so no choice now. They have to go for it, Burnley, and
they're gonna,
they're gonna have to. They're gonna have to, and I don't know if.
Well, they hammered Wendy's, didn't they? 4-0, which is
but I don't know if that's because Wendy's are crap or they did go for it. So I guess we'll know more in the next. Because obviously we play again before Burnley do, because Burnley is still in the FA Cup. So I think that's why this weekend's still important. You get even though they'll have a game in hand, they're stretched to 10 points, and then they've got an awful lot to think about. And what they will have to think about is, oh fuck, we better not draw 0-0 at all, and they will, of course they will, because like we say, if they're one of their top 3 main attacking threats is still Jadon Anthony, then we're going to pull away at some point in the next few game weeks.
Yeah, Paul said here, goals scored by a defender, midfielder, and an attacker. Not many other teams can do that in a game. Right, really quickly, I wanted to share some of the absolute brilliant memes and videos that I've come across, some of my favourites over the past day or two. So if you are offended by anything, you probably want to just fuck off now. I'll be honest with you, because there's a few saucy little pictures and stuff on here. One of my personal favourites are the Pirro and Farker knocking Wilder about.
Jesus.
Number one.
Very good.
And Barker had a little go afterwards as well. Chris Wilder became Bonnie Blue for the day.
Wow.
Blimey.
2 of my favourites there. And then the other one with Hamed on a gravestone.
Oh.
Christ,
with
which one's
Bogle
my
and
favourite?
Parker giving it. Brilliant. They're both my favourite. They're on my favourite. I might get cut off here because my internet seems to be lagging. Either that or they've found me and that's it. I'm going to jail. But the last image I'm going to share with you is going to be in a moment, because there is also a couple of videos which I found really, really entertaining as well. So I'm just going to share those with you before I get barred from the internet, and then we will. I'll show you one last picture because it's a good talking point and it's a nice one. So the first one is Chrissy Wilder losing it after last night's game.
He might be the only guy to have ever existed. It's a bigger freak.
Yeah, and then the second one is, I'm not actually sure what's going on here. I think it might be a Leeds fan in with the Blunts crowd, and he's saying it's 3-1. I can't really determine it. I'll play it a couple of times, see if anybody can make of it more than I can. And then you've got your Sheffield, South Yorkshire Karen in there as well.
It's beautiful! It's beautiful!
So I'm going to play it again because what I think he's saying. Yeah, so what I think he's saying is it's beautiful, it's 3-1, it's beautiful, and she goes, leave, or you're going to get battered, Deirdre Barlow style. Let's just play it one more time. Just
it's beautiful! It's beautiful!
Or you get battered,
it's beautiful! Yes!
Anybody disagree?
I think she's genuinely worried for him, isn't she?
Yeah,
I think she's been a bit of a Karen, but she is worried for him because she thinks he's going to get leathered.
Honestly, I thought she was threatening him.
That's not how I heard it, but maybe so. There were some away fans in the home end. I think there were one that were getting loads of shit, and our lot were giving him loads of shit. And then he just kind of turned a little bit and did a lead salute. So then they were all chanting for him.
Yeah. I'm sure he's a Leeds fan in the way and just going, it's beautiful, it's 3-1, and really enjoying himself. A braver man than me, I'll give him that, because I wouldn't fancy that on a Monday night.
Do you think maybe it's like what were it, first dates or the undateables or whatever it was, when we were playing Barnsley.
Oh yeah,
and they were on, and she's chanting. She's sat with Leeds fans, and she's chanting, "Come on, Barnsley!" He's like, "No."
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
No idea.
Marmite Ray.
Yeah, you got the right
Marmite
arse,
Ray.
didn't
Yeah, he's going. Ooh. He travels up. He used to travel up from. You know what? I've not seen him for a long, long time. Actually, he used to travel up from London regularly. I've not seen him for a while. Don't know. Is Marmite Ray still about? Anybody? Does anybody see him? And then the last one I wanted to share, which is a really, really nice one. It is Pascal Stroit's Instagram story, and him being congratulated by Rafinha, saying "Cappy." Really, really nice to see there at the bottom. I just wanted to use that as a bit of a talking point because I think the difference for me this season and the reason why we're going to win the league is that team ethic, that team spirit, that togetherness, that camaraderie. I'll label it however you like, but I don't see anything. You know, as Leeds fans, we're used to being burnt, and we're used to the PTSD of not managing to do things the right way and being very Leedsy. But I just don't see it going wrong this season. I want to put that out to you two and hear your thoughts and whether or not it does feel different, or I'm just living in my own world, Lou.
I don't. Yeah, obviously the feel-good factor is different. I think nobody really wants to properly say it, and we might have said some things last night in the heat of it, and that, oh yeah, that's it now. And these moments do feel special, and I think the important thing about last night was that it's our last hard game in terms of on paper, in terms of the teams that have been performing well in the league. I'm not saying we're going to win every game or not lose for the rest of the season or anything like that, but it does feel different. It's completely different to last season. The team's better balanced, much better, less reliance on two players. There's just a different feel, and I think that's why people do have this confidence, and the PTSD, even for the most negative of fans, is sort of subsiding a little bit. So yeah, and I don't know what to expect even on Saturday, I think everything points to the fact that we're going to play well because we play well at home, and that we're going to win again, and all the rest of it. But that all comes from just supporting Leeds for a long time. All the metrics say we're going to perform the same way we have been all season, and we probably will. But there is always, a humbling result around the corner, however good you are. That could have been last night, but it wasn't. So we've just got to keep going. There's 12 games left over a lot longer period of time, because obviously there's an international break. We were playing this well last year, and I think we're still only 3 points ahead of what we were last year. And I know the league's performing differently this year, but just got to keep going. And hopefully the international break doesn't fuck us and we don't get any more injuries, touch wood, important ones. So all we can do is keep getting results. And I think the quality in the rest of the division, Sunderland are not really in our minds now, I wouldn't say. So there's less teams to worry about. And I think Burnley and Blunts are going to drop more points than we will before now in the end. Yeah. And I'm not saying we're going to be champions or it's going to be a breeze or anything like that. I think it might get tight over a couple of game weeks again if we drop points and they gain another 2 points on us or whatever else. But it's going in the right direction. So yeah, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but it feels good. And ultimately, it's great watching this team as well. I love watching this team play.
It is nice to watch, and we've got to enjoy it because look, it doesn't last forever. We've been in this position before where we have been promoted and, buzzing, and then we've gone into the Premier League and had a great season, and then it hasn't lasted. So we just need to keep our sensible level. Gilly, do you think we can become the best championship side ever? I think we've got 106 points to beat, and I think we can currently hit 111 if we won every game. I don't. I think I see us dropping more points, and I'm not worried about that. I still think we are going to win the league. But do you think we are good enough? And do you think we've got that in us to actually go potentially almost unbeaten for the rest of the season?
It's a big one. I was thinking while you were talking to Lou, I was thinking I'm going to be really positive here because I'm going to come in and I'm going to say we're going up as fucking champions. It's fine. But you've asked me a different question, and now I need to be slightly negative because that Reading record is fucking amazing. Let's not get it wrong. It is amazing. And if anybody gets near that, they've done brilliantly well. Can we go on and do it? I think if we can keep this form beyond the international break, there's nothing stopping us beyond that. You know, you look at our actual last 4 or 5 games, we ought to win them at a canter. I think, you know, West Brom's probably our biggest game left. They're in 5th. I know it's really tight below the top 4. I mean, you mentioned Sunderland. They're 13 points behind us now. If we were 13 points off top, there's no way we're going, we're going to be champions. It's only because we're looking down instead of up that it looks different to us. But so West Brom's probably the biggest game we've got left. And having done what we've done against Sunderland, who were on a bit of form, and Sheff United, who had matched us, you know, albeit 2 points behind us because they had actually cheated. But you know, they had, in terms of performance up to the point of the season that we played them this week, they'd matched us. So the fact that we've gone and done what we've done against Sunderland, against Sheff United, you have to be able to take some of that heart into the next few games. And if we get through West Brom, which I think we will, with 3 points, I can't see anybody knocking us off our stride other than us. You know, we've spoken before.
And the international break.
Yeah, and but we, you know, what I meant by that was Rodon and Pirro, for me, are so crucial to this team because Tanaka's really important and he's probably one of our better performers over the course of the season. For me, I think he's almost a shoo-in for the team of the season for the league. But if we lost him, Rothwell could come in. And we might lose a little bit, but Rothwell can come in. If we lose Rodon now, you're bringing in Sam Byram or DeBeo. So, you know, if you lose Rodon for an extended period, if you lose Pirro, who is scoring goals for an extended period, that might harm us. But short of anything major like that, I can't see anybody in the league that's going to come and do anything significant against us. It's just really difficult to see.
Yeah, and there's some good fixtures in there as well. We owe QPR 1 at their place. Pompey drew 3-3 with us at the start of the season. I want to beat Millwall at home. There's plenty for us to be fighting for in those games. Those players are not going to be thinking it's going to be easy. Like I never really look at a fixture. You know, I might at 3 or 4-0 up think, you know, this lot of crap or whatever. But I never look at a championship fixture and think it's going to be a breeze because there's so many unknowns in the championships, and that could be anything from a bad ref to, like Gilly says, an injury that costs you. So, yeah, be all right.
And Portsmouth actually is an early kickoff. You know, that might be a factor because it's you know, I expect they'll go down the day before or they might fly down or whatever, and you know, they'll do it in luxurious circumstance compared to the way that we would get to that game. But you know,
we have to put up with Preston booting us again at some point as well, don't we? Do we have Preston?
We have only played them once, haven't we?
I'm pretty sure we've got, and that's going to be
left to play. We've got West Brom at home, Pompey away, Millwall at home, QPR away, Swansea at home, Luton away, Middlesbrough away, Preston at home, Oxford away, Stoke at home, Bristol at home, Plymouth away.
Yeah.
Well, there's some tricky fixtures in there. Look, I absolutely, completely agree with this sentiment that they're all big games and we can't be complacent. And I think we need to remember that and realise that as fans, you're not necessarily going to win every game. You know, have we just beat the second team in the league at their place? Yes. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to go down to Luton and beat them necessarily. Do you know what I mean? It's football, and we all understand. We've been here long enough. It's not our first rodeo. Let's just get behind them, and hopefully we can all celebrate in Millennium Square for a couple of days and just sleep there and that. But yeah, I'm quite happy. I think. Yeah, I still think we will be. We will be crowned champions before the end of the season. I said at the start of the season, I think we would win this league, or early on the season, by between 6 and 9 points. I said early on, and I'm still confident of that. Just to finalise on the man of the match, very, very close, tight one actually. 3% for Dan James, 5% for any other, which means there were 2 left. Guessing, I mean, you can both guess who they are.
Rodon and Firpo, I'm guessing.
Rodon and Firpo, and the winner with 48% over 45%. So very,
wow.
very tight. Was Firpo. So yeah, completely agreed. There is one more comment, Gilly. I don't know if you can answer this. I know there has been talks, but Michael Gott has asked, is there any OKB merchandise on the agenda for the future? Walking around town with an OKB t-shirt or hat, you'd have the envy of your community.
What's this space? What's this
we have been
space?
talking about it. But we just don't know yet.
Shit, I've popped up wrong one. This one. Bremner's Ghost says bets that Plymouth on last day's change from a 3 p.m. Saturday kickoff.
They all
kick off at the same time on last day season, so it's not like we'll have the early kickoff.
So everyone pile down to Plymouth. Pack the lovely beach down at Plymouth.
Oh God, that'd be ace, wouldn't it? What date's that?
Let's do a Bournemouth. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think there might end up being something like that. Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, it's on cards, isn't it?
What's the actual date of that one? It's going to be. Oh, that's a bank holiday weekend.
Had you not worked this out?
Hey, I'm taking the bright orange camper. Taking the bright orange camper down to Plymouth.
If his caravans are rocking.
And on that note, thank you ever so much for joining us. We will be back this week. I don't know whether it's tomorrow or Thursday. They haven't decided yet. And because Jay's a little bit, well, not a little bit, he's very unorganized. He doesn't know what day he's going to be doing it yet. So do subscribe and then you'll get a notification anyway. So subscribe, smash a like, all the usual stuff. As I say, we'll be back for the main pod, which has got all your usual bits. The
shit take of the week, my favourite one, and all the other parts. They'll probably talk a little bit more on the Sheffield United game, and then a bit on West Brom as well, a bit of a preview for West Brom. You can get your comments in as you have tonight. Again, thank you ever so much for joining us. Thank you ever so much, Lou, as ever, for joining us. It's always a pleasure and never ever a chore, and I appreciate you hungover and probably need your bed. We have been on for nearly an hour and a half. Gilly, again, thank you ever so much for joining me. Yeah, I think it's Carl, Smarty. Carl, Smarty and Jay tomorrow. So look forward to seeing them. Tell them how much you've enjoyed watching us, and especially Big Lou, and we will be back later on in the week. Cheers. See you, pals.
See ya.